Hey friends, Jeff here with missionmusician.com. Got another video for you today. Sorry I've been away for just a little while. I'm working on something very special with my good buddy Eric Tarr. Going to be announcing something pretty soon, so look out for that. Today I got a video on using samples when you mix drums. I personally love mixing drums. There's a kind of a really cool satisfaction that comes from getting a great, powerful, punchy, mixed drum sound when you have well-recorded tracks. Now, what happens when the tracks aren't very well recorded or they just don't sound good? Maybe they were recorded okay, but they just don't sound good. I got a track here, excuse me, from a band called Algae, and let me tell you, this band is phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. They quickly became one of my favorite bands. Aaron, the drummer, is actually a subscriber to Mission Musician, and this band is just incredible. But anyway, they went into a studio and recorded, 4 or 5 songs, I think, and so Aaron sent me over this song, and it's an awesome song, but the drums don't sound very good. So what happens when EQ isn't enough? Now, let me kind of show you what I got going on here. There's no plugins on this except for on the snare drum, on the snare top, and on the overheads. I have the room muted, and I've got some EQ on the toms for now. Just seeing what I was doing was going through and see. A lot of times I test things out before I actually start mixing to see if I can clear them up. And when I listen to the overheads and the snare of these drum tracks, I gotta say, the snare is just really got so much buildup in it, and the overheads sound kind of trashy. So let me play you the overheads first with nothing on them. And again, I was trying to clean them up as best I could. Here they are with nothing on them. So first of all, it's not a very wide sound. Everything is kind of in the middle, even though it is a stereo track. Actually came over in a left and a right, and I just bounced it down to a stereo. So the very first thing I did was pulled in an EQ and tried to clean it up with just one EQ. Alright, so let me bring this in. And before we get going any further, let me get in a spot where the drums are actually not doing a build-up. Sorry, I should have set this up beforehand. Let's just start here, I guess at the beginning. I hear all that build-up, and I'm taking quite a bit out. Maybe not so much here. So that didn't work for me. So when that doesn't work, I go to other tricks I know to use. So this is a plugin from Waves called Crisler Algae drums, and this plugin really, I don't know what EQ settings are in it, but it generally cleans up any overheads that I put it on that I'm having trouble with. It didn't really even do it here, so let's take a listen with this added. So it is kind of removing the blanket, but I'm losing a lot of the drum tone when I do that. I don't look at overheads as cymbal mics. I look at it as a full picture of the drum kit. And so I like to use it that way when I can. But I've been having fits with this, so that still wasn't enough. So then I brought in VMR to see if I could do a little bit more. So let's see what this does. If I can pull it down here, sorry. There we go. All right, so cleans it up a little bit. Let's listen to it with it off, and I'll turn all three back on. All right, so to me, it sounds okay at best, and I don't like that. I want it to sound outstanding. So then I'll show you how I kind of help that out in a minute. Let's go over to the snare drum, and let me bypass the plugins that I have on it and listen to the snare. So major overtones in the snare. I don't like showing you guys this EQ setting I got because it's pretty drastic. As you can see, man, I'm cutting everything out of the middle that I can to try to get rid of that ring, and I still can't get rid of it. So let's take a listen. Okay, so that's better, and then I ended up and I put a gate on there as well to try to kind of clamp on those overtones so it wouldn't ring out so much. So it's better, it's almost usable. Let's listen to it with nothing, and then I'll bring this in. Right, so it's definitely better, but it's not good enough for me. So what do you do when that happens? When you EQ and keep EQing and adding all kinds of tricks that you know to try to clean things up? Well, short of re-recording it, there's only a couple things you can do, and so let me show you what I've done here. I've added some cymbal samples in to try to clean this up a little bit. So let's listen to the overheads. Okay, so it's widening it up. And it's more relevant in the mix. This also had, for what I considered an unusable kick drum, so I just sampled the kick. But I also sampled the snare, and instead of replacing it, I'm blending it in. And the reason why is because Aaron does some really cool fills, especially that buildup that we heard at the beginning of this. And it's really hard to get Slate's trigger to get everything exactly right. Now you can if you spend a ton of time editing the actual wave file, but I decided that this snare drum that I EQ'd the crap out of was getting close enough that where if I added another snare to it and blended it in, it actually helped quite a bit. So let's listen to that. Right, so it gives it that snap, it lets it cut. So now let's listen to the whole kit, and I'm going to play you a little bit of the song in a minute because I just love this song. Let's listen to the whole kit, and I'm just going to bring in the samples, we'll just say that for this video that the kick, we'll just consider it part of the, even though it is a sample, part of the kit. So let's listen with no snare sample and no cymbal samples. Right, so it gives it some width with the cymbal samples, and they're a little prettier. And then with the snare sample, it gives it some depth, it gives it some crack. And let's go ahead and let me see here. Let's listen to it in the mix. And again, I'll pull these two in and out so you can hear the difference. All right, let's, I guess, mute them for now. Right, so it's definitely better now. The snare is cutting. Obviously, we are adding some gain with the additional snare. That's why it kind of pops to life. But the cymbals, adding the cymbals in makes it a little bit wider. And keep in mind, again, there are no plugins on this mix at all other than what I got going on right here to try to salvage the overhead and the snare. Okay, so this is just an example of what you can do when you don't have the ability to re-record the drums, what you can do to kind of try to fix problems. And the problems here were the overheads. They were very murky, a lot of mid buildup, upper mid buildup in them. They just were very small sounding. They didn't sound wide to me. And then the snare, a ton of lower mid in the snare. I mean, you can see this is pretty aggressive EQing. I mean, it really is. But when you combine it with the snare sample, it actually sounds really good. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'm going to try to get some more videos up consistently. Like I said, I'm working on something with Eric Tarr from the Pro Audio Files, and we're trying to get something going. That's kind of occupied my time here lately, but I'll try to post a little bit more regularly. I apologize for not having anything up for, it's probably been over 2 weeks now. So I'll see you in another video real soon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.